with Crystalline Conflict that's coming out here relatively soon, probably within
Yeah.
the next month or so. Do you think that that mode is going to be incredibly popular, much more so than previous PvP systems have been? And if so, like, why do you think that it'll be more popular?
I think what Final Fantasy needs to do first is make these modes not more available to players, but more obvious to players. Because most players who will casually get themselves into any sort of PvP content will do it through daily roulettes. And the only daily roulette option for you is Frontlines. So you will see most of the casual PvP player base there. And it takes a surprising amount of effort for Final Fantasy players to actually click through these like different icons, go to the sword one, find the mode that they want to play and go there. It's easier to just see that mode as like one of your daily roulettes or whatever. Like I feel like that's one of the big flaws when it comes to PvP. I honestly believe that Final Fantasy needs more daily PvP content that will be right in front of you. Like I know clicking on it isn't that hard, but there's not a lot of people who will just like click on the PvP icon on a daily basis and do the content, but they'll do a frontline because that is on their daily to-do list. So I think that is something that they need to work on. But if this particular PvP mode proves to be fun and engaging, I can see people actually making a conscious effort into entering that PvP mode, and I really hope to see that. From the announcements that I've seen about it, like they're advertising it as as a casual PvP content that pretty much anyone can tap into, but PvP players or anyone who really wants to get into that type of content, they usually don't have a casual nature. Like if you're a PvPer, you don't go there to have fun. You go there to pew pew, and those feelings are inherently competitive. So I do believe that apart from it just being casual, it has an enormous potential to actually grow a PvP scene, and I'm so excited for it. I think the mode is great because a group of 5 players is just about enough to not make you feel like a Zerk. Just kind of like enter a front line and, be invisible and be able to, pew pew, but also be able to AFK if you don't know what you're doing or whatever. It creates an opportunity for interaction. I think 4 people is a little bit of a small group, but 5, just probably because of my World of Warcraft background, because dungeons are 5 men dungeons or whatever. I should say men people dungeons. but I think that I really used to like the 5 people composition within World of Warcraft. Now I'm used to 4 people within a dungeon, but I think for this particular mode, 5 people is just about enough. And the fact that there are no role matchmaking requirements that you're gonna need to go through is perfect. Like you could have like 5 healers doing damage and still winning if they know what they're doing. You can play what you want, which I think is good. Because I don't know if you play like Frontlines or...
I would do my daily frontline roulette for leveling,
Okay.
so I've got everything capped, and
Right.
part of the strategy for leveling everything was frontlines was an excellent source of XP because you get like half
Yeah.
a level for 15 minutes or so of doing one of those. So I would do that, but it was too chaotic. Like you said, it's like a Zerg rush, and you as an individual player I would say even on the highest end of the skill spectrum, you don't feel like you're having an impact on the match, right? If you're out there on your own, you can't go solo and Rambo, something, unless someone just happens to be one-on-oneing like, a base, like standing in a base by themselves. But the instant that there's 3 or 4 people there, you're just, toast. No matter how good you are, I feel like. And that to me is the biggest problem, I want to say, with Final Fantasy XIV PvP in its current iteration is, like you said, one, everyone just does front lines because it's part of the roulette system. Why isn't rival rings part of that roulette system?
Okay.
Why isn't the what was the arena, the World of Warcraft arena? They call it something else here. I'm blanking on it.
Feast?
The feast, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I still have yet to get into a feast match. I queue up and it's a 35-minute queue for, you know, a small arena match, and that's problematic too. I really want to
Because you
try
can't queue
that.
for anything else. You want to, but then you're kind of locked out of all the other content. I
Yeah.
think that's sorry for interrupting. I
No.
actually think that that's one of the things that World of Warcraft does do right. Like when you queue for I want to say duty finder, like raid finder, you can queue for multiple different instances. I think last time I played it was up to 5. And that was just very convenient because you feel like whenever your game or your, you know, raid or instance ends, you can jump into another one because one of those queues will be popping. So
Yeah.
I really wanna see that in Final Fantasy at some point, and I think it would help with those duties that take a longer time. Because imagine being able to queue for frontlines, but then you also have the time to do your trials, your normal raids or whatever, and 30 minutes goes by, and you can just queue into a game and play it without AFKing and Limsa feeling like you have nothing to do.
Yeah, and so because of that, I've never really had much of an experience in the small scale PvP space with the Feast, where I think that this game would shine more than in the front lines, like the PvP. Because, and that's why I'm very curious to see Crystalline Conflict. One, I think they've done a better job with like the reward system. I think the battle pass, for lack of a better term, the seasons and series things that they're doing, but it's a battle pass. You just don't have to pay extra for it. Is a good model, right? Because it keeps things condensed within a time frame.
Yeah, it's motivating.
It's gonna, I think, encourage a lot more people to try that mode out, is my guess. I think also when you can feel like a hero, right? When you can have those moments of individual glory is what PvP is all about. Like when you can 2v1 a situation and somehow come out alive, like that's what feels great about PvP. And that's why I think people love MOBAs, you know, like League of Legends and Dota and MOBAs in particular, is because you have those hero ball moments, as we sometimes call them, where you can just turn the tide of a battle on your own. And it feels bad on the other side.
Being good matters. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I hope that Crystalline Conflict does that. I'm actually a little bit concerned that because it's filtering everybody into, you know, basically one lane, you know, you're pushing that crystal because it's pushed the payload like Overwatch. I'm a little worried that even with the 5 people there, that it's going to feel congested. It's going to feel like a little bit too chaotic, like a Frontlines, but, you know, on a smaller scale. And I wish, and this is my like idea that I've been working on, and I've been trying to put together a script for this video, but I'm still like collecting my thoughts on what I want the system to look like. But I think a 5v5 3-lane MOBA, just like League or Dota or Heroes of the Storm, could work out really well, because then you're separating people out into lanes and you're isolating the combat to 1v1. And part of what I'm thinking about is the system that you could build on top of that. Like Rival Wings has that kind of upgrade system as a part of it, but I don't think it's done very well. But I'm borrowing some elements from other games like Paladins and Smite and a few of those other games. And I'm trying to figure out like what's the right combination, what's the right talent system, you know, the leveling system within the match, like a MOBA has, you know, where you level up and everything. What's jungling look like? What maybe items isn't necessary? Maybe, you know, the talent trees are enough that let you customize and specialize in different things. But I think that separation makes it more interesting, because now it's you know, it's a gunbreaker versus a warrior in the top lane or something like that, or it's this versus this in this lane. And yeah, you have those moments where everyone comes together, but then you have the moments that are really important for the big early game where everyone's apart and having to handle their own business.
Yeah, definitely.
That to me, I think would be a better system.
I feel like the community, including yourself, we have so many good ideas, but I think fundamentally what these PvP modes are lacking is marketing. And maybe Final Fantasy XIV hasn't really been marketing PvP because admittedly they knew that it just wasn't it just isn't good enough right now to be marketed, and they don't want to be like, hey, we're a PvP game, but in reality there are these glaring issues. So maybe they're just like keeping it on the back burner for now, just kind of waiting for, for them to feel like they are completely satisfied with the product. But I feel like once more people start getting into PvP, you will have these veteran PvP players from other games as well, like World of Warcraft and other games, who will provide this invaluable feedback on how this can be done better. And I feel like that moment for PvP hasn't quite arrived yet into FF14, and that's why I'm very optimistic.
Hey, thanks for listening to this clip from the Popo Pub Final Fantasy XIV podcast. If you enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate it if you could like, comment, and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out. Lolly ho, and peace out, friend.